You're not going to come out there and just talk to them. Now, we did see early on, you saw some marches, and then the police come out, and some of the local leaders and sheriffs and even a police chief comes out, and they take a knee, and everybody is happy, and they're marching together, and then, well, next thing you know, the police are being targeted anyway by the violent faction of the far left. Well, fact of the matter is if you want a voice, then use your voice.
That are up on top of the building, up right up here.
Well, because anything that was to come out of
God, we have
any kind of change that was to come out of the death of George Floyd or any other incident is all muddied. The water is unclear because of the fact that the violent rioters have taken over.
Well, as I've always said, because you talked about the police not knowing, but this is the plan of and Antifa and the radicals of Black Lives Matter. They want to confuse the police. There are people out there, like we said, for example, when we look at the typical lead up to the gun march in Virginia.
Right.
Going back, how long ago was that?
It was earlier this year.
Was it early this year? Early? So when that happened, remember the media jumping on this and all scared about violence and everything else because they're going to be out there, they're going to be showing your weapons. What the left doesn't want to tell you is that Second Amendment people are probably the most civil people that you could possibly meet.
Right.
The last thing they want to do is commit acts of violence. They're not talking about doing anything illegal. They're talking about what they believe their legal rights are. And so they had a big show of force. But was there any incident that happened?
No.
Any violent incident that happened? Nope. And remember the lead up to that? There's going to be violence, 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 and there wasn't.
Same with the Tea Party march in D.C. a couple of years ago when NBC opened up their nightly news with symbols of violence and racism. There were no symbols of violence and racism in that march.
And the reason is because people that truly believe in rights, they believe in civility, they believe in legal protest. I have no fear of people that truly believe in the Second Amendment. Because if they believe in the Second Amendment, guess what? They believe in the other amendments. That's what I found out. They agree with the First Amendment. They actually have read the Constitution and honor the Constitution. So I have no fear of that. And when you see it, nothing happened there. The difference is, and we have said this, if there was a Second Amendment rally and violence erupted, I can guarantee you that there would not be a rally the next day. Because they would run away. People that truly believe in the Constitution and rights, they don't want anything to do with the violent activity. They don't want to be associated with that. They go. The fact that what happened in Portland, Oregon, those peaceful protesters, they were enabling the violence, who they called the so-called peaceful, but we were peaceful protesters. Well, if you're peaceful protesters, you may go and protest. Nobody's stopping you from going and having your own protest 10 miles away from where any violent activity happens. You can pick another symbol of the federal government if you wish to. But remember, for the first month, federal government had nothing to do with the protest in Portland, Oregon.
Right.
As we remember.
Right.
That's what it evolved into. But as we said, they love it. Antifa loves it. We get people that sympathize with us because there's the radicals and there's the people that sympathize that become their voluntary human shields. We will be the human shields, and if the cops come in to go after you and push me, they pushed an innocent protester. Right?
Yeah.
We understand what the game is. We're not stupid. We understand exactly what's going on. But the reason you don't see that on the right is because they don't want anything to do with the violence.
No.
They don't want anybody hijacking their message. Those people in Virginia, when you looked at the Tea Party, the last thing they wanted is any violent person hijacking the clear message that they were trying to send to the federal government, which is a reason that they held their protest. Because what you find out is people that truly care about the Constitution are not the ones that are committing violence out there. As you see, it's the people that don't believe in the Constitution and wish to see a different country and a different Constitution.
Yeah.
That's why you see it.
Right.
This isn't rocket science. Black Lives Matter. What are they about? They're Marxists. If you're a Marxist, you don't want the United States to exist, which means you don't want the Constitution to exist. You're a Marxist. You're against the right. You're against property rights. You're against free speech rights.
You're an opportunist.
You're against religious rights. You're against the Second Amendment.
You decide that a situation is going to take you to your next level and you're going to get leverage, and they did. It was mainstream.
And by the way, if you go, what do you mean they don't believe in the United States? If you don't believe in the Constitution, you don't believe in the United States. It's that simple. That's what the United States is. The United States is not a geographical area. The United States is a set and a rule of laws and rights that exist.
You said laws. How dare you?
I know. That's what it is. The Constitution is the ultimate law.
If you say we're a nation of laws anymore, you're a radical.
Well, that's why they have no problem burning the flag. That's why they have no problem disrespecting the flag. They don't believe in it.
No, they don't.
It's not like, oh no, we believe in the United States. No, you don't.
No.
And I'll say this: if you instill, I'll throw this at Nancy Pelosi. She doesn't believe in the United States. Anybody that would throw out such a incredible lie in order to instill hatred, to lie about law enforcement, to call them stormtroopers who kidnap, in order to enrage the mob. They don't believe in the United States. They don't believe in the Constitution.
Nope.
Tell me where I'm wrong. You can't. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Miss a show? Listen anywhere, anytime, on demand to catch up on Eric and Gary's topics of the day. Visit RedEyeRadioshow.com and click on demand.
Hi, I'm Eric Harley.
And I'm Gary McNamara.
We all know that our listeners are the ones keeping the shelves stocked and our pantries full. And in this time of uncertainty and need, the trucking industry always shows up and delivers.
That's why during the months of August and September, through Truck Driver Appreciation Month, Red Eye Radio will be recognizing a truck driver every night on the air.
We want to highlight our industry's first responders and say thank you. Our drivers' commitment to moving America will be a focal point on Red Eye Radio this summer. Their dedication, drive, and determination has truly helped this country make it through the COVID crisis.
Stay tuned for more information as Red Eye Radio salutes America's drivers. Go to RedEyeRadioshow.com for more information.
It's all made possible by our sponsors, Shell Rotella, Pilot Flying J, Mercer Transportation, Motel 6, Dish Outdoors, Progressive Insurance, Big Rig Lending, House Lubricator, and the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. Go to RedEyeRadioshow.com. Win big with House. With the purchase of any House product, you could instantly win one of hundreds of prizes with a House from our family to your sweepstakes. Just take a photo of your product and receipt, text to 413-299-2020, and spin the wheel. You could win instantly. Plus, you get the chance to open the House prize vault and choose your grand prize, including $5,000 cash. Grab any House product today and spin to win. No purchase necessary. Ends 12/31/20. Open to legal residents of 50 U.S. states, D.C., and Canada. 18 and over. 19 and over in select states. Complete rules at House100sweeps.com.
If you're a trucking industry professional, then you need to stay on top of changing regulations, equipment upgrades, and technology advancements. Fleet Owner Magazine gives you all of this and more. Written for fleet executives and managers, Fleet Owner gives you the business intelligence on operations, vehicle maintenance, regulations, and information technology you need to stay ahead. But that's not all. With its monthly print publication, weekly email newsletters, and a website updated several times a day, Fleet Owner has all the latest news and information delivered to you when you want it and where you want it. From industry experts to award-winning writers and columnists, Fleet Owner is the #1 source for trucking information in North America. Remember to visit fleetowner.com every day for the latest industry news. You can also sign up to receive Newsline, their free email newsletter, and subscribe to Fleet Owner magazine. That's fleetowner.com. Fleet Owner, for news you can use.
Motel 6 and Studio 6 have a message for truckers. We want you to know the health and safety of our guests and team members remains our top priority. As always, our guests can be assured of a clean, comfortable place to stay. We know you're putting in extra miles and hours, so whether you're hauling essential goods across the country or finally taking time to relax, know that we're still here leaving the light on for you. And we've got a special discount for truckers. Book at motel6.com or on the My6 app and enter code CPRedEye at checkout.
If you haven't heard Mornings with Casper and Chris, here's what you're missing.
These day camps that the mayor is starting to do, number one, are helping. If kids don't go back to school, there are parents out there who will not be able to work.
Mike Casper, Chris Walton.
Marine Bob wrote in, he says, for a little perspective, I would like all news media to daily cite the number of people passing from cancer, along with the number from COVID-19. I think the only difference is that we don't get together.
Of the United States government, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Peace and safety. I hope you listen to him. Okay, there's not many going to do it. Not many. Oh, God. I sit alone. Been doing it for nearly a year now. Most of my time I'm alone with God. Witness of the Spirit. Because people don't believe God. Oh, we're believing God for revival. No, we don't need a revival. We need the restoration, the resurrection, the renewing of our life, eternal life. Oh, boy, I get so weary. God would never rebuke me. He said, well, don't be weary in well-doing. And then he brings back to me, I am weary.
This was a recommendation.
I think I did change the glow plugs once, but other than that, it wasn't a big deal. But it is really important to get it timed right. You don't get it timed right, and you can hardly get it to run. And it's so easy to time that thing. The procedure is really simple. The other thing I had go wrong with it was same kind of an EGR, the exhaust gas cooling thing. They, Volkswagen, and maybe this has something to do with that big lawsuit they had here in the last 10 years or so. But the EGR system on the Volkswagen put a lot of soot back into the intake. And on mine, the soot would just coated the inside of that intake. Yeah, it looks kind of like a mess on my desk here right now, but if I ever get it to the point where I can completely package it up, it's just made with 3/16 diamond tread, the casing for it, and then the parts are inside. But I'm sure anybody could do it if you just start with one part and you just keep adding stuff to it. Where are you located? I'm in Fallbrook, California. That's over near Camp Pendleton.
Oh yeah, that's a nice memory. That's another thing. Yeah, you're increasing more and more. You're 40 over here in HB in Huntington Beach.
Oh really? Let me turn the drive down a little then.
Yeah, when you first cracked it on there, it went to 60 and then dropped back.
No, I wasn't trying to impress. I don't want to impress you as I blow out my chip. It has an LD Moss chip in it, and overdrive is the thing that takes them out. I've already ruined one, so I've got 16 dB of attenuation on it right now. So I'm trying to be as careful as I can.
Yeah, they're not as forgiving as tubes, that's for sure. And what do you think, Lee? Are you hearing them okay?
The greatest majority or plurality in most urban areas in this country. Yeah. And they don't care about them. They don't care about what Minneapolis looks like right now. They don't care. They only care about promoting a narrative that is false, and they hope that they get power because of it. You know, your wish that this just all stops. Nothing magically stops. People have said, well, what will stop this from happening? Voting the people out in government that continue to promote these kind of things. Look, with this all going on, the Democrats are still on. They're on a little less now, aren't they? But they're still on the defund the police, right? Even Seattle, it's like, well, we really can't do 50%, and now they're talking about just a very small portion of elimination of the police department. We've seen it, but in Minneapolis, a little bit of the backing off of it, because when you actually try to promote that to the people, which would be pure chaos, they're not going to go for it.
It's a loser, and the locals know it's a loser. Those local leaders know they can't get away with telling their constituents that we want to protect you even less from the violent criminals.
Down really tight, and I think I had star washers on them too, and that was the fix. I never had a problem with them again. But if you use those push-on 900 watts, about 900 watts, I guess, with an 820S over here. Over. Well, you're doing a terrific job. You're 10 to 15 over here, and it's nice and quiet. I mean, not a lot of QSB on the band or anything. You're really coming in good. So, describe that amplifier one more time. What did you say it was? It's a 820S Kenwood radio with a TL922 alpha amplifier at about 900 watts. Wow, that thing's doing a great job. Is that amplifier made by Kenwood as well? Yeah, TL922A. And the radio is a 820F, so it's, well, let's see, it would be a TF 820F, okay? Wow, yeah. That's probably beyond the means of most amps. That's a nice setup. Yeah, this is an old tube. It's got two finals, 6146 tubes in the finals for this radio, and then the rest is solid state, the receive side, over. So it has a mix. It has two finals, but it has solid state on the receive side. That's interesting, and it sounds like it's got the best of both worlds, because with those tubes, probably would last longer than having a transistor in there. To keep it tuned out, to keep the SWR where it should be and everything, I think it'll last a real long time. But I don't overdrive it. I'm only running, about less than 50% on the mic gain. And, just kind of drifting along here. And most of the people can hear me. I'm not running a compressor or nothing. And here it is, over. Yeah, that's good. Some guys can just get it set up just right, and it really gets out there and sounds good. But I think I've heard you before. A lot of times you always come in here really good, though. Well, sometimes I'm running a different radio, ICOM 756 Pro 2 and a Model 89 Alpha at about probably a kilowatt. But I run this most often because I happen to like this old Kenwood radio and the TL922 alpha amplifier, and it's working. I run it about let's see here. It looks like a little over 100 milliamps out of the amplifier. So it's not even working hard, over. No, it's not. What kind of an antenna do you have up there? Is it a loop or a dipole of some sort? 20-foot long multi-band doublet fed with ladder line. Oh, that's good. Did you make the line yourself? No, I bought the 300 ohm ladder line, but
I built the antenna in 2007, and it's still working just fine.
And do you bring it all the way back into your tuner?
Yeah, absolutely. It runs with 100 foot of ladder line on it coming from the antenna into the radio room here, and I've got an American ATR 30 tuner, which takes you right down to flat mast and the whole works. So I just had to have a meter put in this damn thing because it blew the meter out. You can imagine that, over.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I was asking about that because mine is a wire. I have a 160 meter wire up there, so it's about 250. I think it's 252 feet. Fed from the center, and then I brought in a parallel line from that all the way, and I've got an old MFJ. I know something like a 989C, whatever that is, where I have to manually tune it. But I think you said you have an automatic tuner, is that right?
It's an old manual tuner. Kind of like that 989C. I got one of those too, but mine doesn't work that well. I've kind of designated my MFJ tuner as a doorstop because it didn't do a good job. But once I got this thing fixed, I put the Ameritron back in line, and here it is. And it always has worked well. I've owned this since 2007 too, and it's worked flawlessly until the meter went out. It's still tuned, but I couldn't really tell where it was tuned at because the meter didn't work.
That's funny because that's kind of the way my 989C is. The meter doesn't work on the front. That little pickup that's back in the back left-hand side, I guess that picks up senses the drive in and out and the forward, reverse. That thing went out. Something went out anyway. It doesn't work anymore. So I just kind of tune it by watching my, I have like an external meter, and I watch the SWR on my radio. When I get her kind of tuned up, I just leave it right there.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine does a lot of contesting, CW, and usually uses alpha amplifier. He said that the ATR 30 Ameritron tuner is the best one he knows about because it's the only one he hasn't been able to blow up with his alphas.
And it'll handle power?
Well, it's a 2kW tuner.
Give me the number on that one again. Maybe I'll look into that.
The Ameritron is the brand, and it's an Alpha Tango Romeo -30 and ATR 30.
ATR 30, and the ATR must mean it's automatic, right?
No, it's manual tuner.
Okay, good. That means you don't have to worry. Some of those automatic ones are a little suspect. Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, they go around 600 or 650, something like that, brand new. And I believe they still make them.
Yeah, they probably do. I haven't ever heard one of them out on the swap meet or anything. There are other ones around, but yeah, that's a nice unit, I guess.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll tell you what, let me get out of here. We've chatted for a while, and there may be other people who want to get together and talk to you a little bit. So I'm going to step back and let somebody else have it for a while. But good talking to you, Doug. And we may be here depending on the noise. We've got some noise on 3930. Or you can come look for us there if you don't have. I had a real bad, almost 10 over SI noise level up there tonight, so don't know what it was, but we moved back down here, and it's pretty quiet here. So anyway, good talking to you, and I'm going to get out of here. 73W0DG. I'll step back and let someone else take a run at you. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good one. Was Gordon up there tonight?
Haven't heard him.
Okay, this is K6NBA. Thank you, W0DG.
everybody else go? Did I run everybody off?
They must have went to bed.
Oh, I'm still here, but I'm looking up that tuner. JK.
I'll give you on it, Will. DX Engineering doesn't carry it, but as far as I know, Marathon still does make it.
Hey Google, play 670 KBOI. And on Alexa, say Alexa, enable the 670 KBOI skill. Then say, Alexa, play 670 KBOI.
95 cents plus tax plus shipping.
Well, Will, I'll tell you, I think you could probably load up.
You have to probably get away with taking the EGR caller and the wall cooler. You probably would never have another problem.
Want to put in, not put the Ford OEM EGR cooler in it. Get the one made by that company over in Mesa, Arizona. I think BPD, I think it's called or something.
Extremely hard for any of the charges to stick on the other cops. Right. Now, as we
also stated, there could be other evidence that comes in that we don't know about that may change it. But this adds to the existing evidence that we know of right now that, again, will make it harder for a second-degree murder charge and maybe a manslaughter charge.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not a negligent homicide.
Right.
Maybe they could get to manslaughter. I don't know what other evidence, but this hurts the second-degree murder, and it hurts the charges against the other cops.
Yeah, and we're not, again, this is not full exoneration. It is it's another piece of the puzzle. It's a larger chunk of evidence that puts greater perspective on what happened on that day. And that's what you're looking to do. The question is, why didn't we see this before? Why didn't it come out before?
And you say, well, because the public should know, people rioted over all of this.
Mm-hmm.
The riots were based on the fact that this proves systemic racism. We said it from the very beginning.
Right.
But the DA's not even making the case of a hate crime.
Right.
But it didn't matter. It just became, it must be because of this. And as we've said, and we said this from the very, very beginning. Remember when we said the video that we're really looking for or any evidence is what happened inside that car.
Right.
And now we know what happened inside that car.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that he was trying to do everything he could to get out of police custody.
Right. I mean, the only thing in the narrative that we heard early on was that he was talking about being claustrophobic while in the squad car, but we didn't hear anything about, and that came from other witnesses, we didn't hear anything about resisting or anything else that had gone on, and the question is why.
And he was also stating that, for example, he can't breathe, that he was
Right.
he was standing up,
Right.
that it was something that he was using as a So you can look at it, and it's something that the defense can use with the jury and saying, look, he's saying all these things, and he's fine.
Yeah, right.
So the fact that he continued to say those same things when he was on the ground could give, and that's what you're looking for, reasonable doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, it definitely hurts the second-degree murder charge. How it would affect the manslaughter charge, I don't. It's tough because you don't know what other evidence exists.
Right.
But this 8 minutes does put a lot of things into context. Does not exonerate him for putting the knee on the neck for that length of time, or for that 2-minute period where he might have been responsive, unresponsive.
Right.
But it does help to. It is more evidence, and a significant amount of evidence that shows the stop wasn't about the race of the suspect, of George Floyd, and certainly what happened in the vehicle. None of it that we can see, even to the point of him laying on the ground, had anything to do with race.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
He was attempting to resist arrest for not just 2 or 3 seconds, but over a period of time, over a period of 8 minutes.
Yeah.
He was resisting arrest.
Right. But it is not full exoneration.
No, and we said that from when we made it clear. We don't do that. We don't take a piece of evidence and come to an absolute conclusion. We've never done that in any case because we view it as a criminal case. Mm-hmm. We have criticized those on the left that every time this happens jumps on a false narrative without the evidence.
Well, and that false narrative has had a massive impact on this nation.
Yes, it has.
And in the court of public opinion, it's important because when you see everything that's happened in the wake of the death of George Floyd, then you cannot ignore the fact that it happened out of a lack of information, incomplete information.
Mm-hmm.
And just as in any case in an actual court, in a legal setting, if you're going to bring about change, if something's going to happen, if there's going to be anything actionable there, then it must be with complete information. It must be based on the truth. The whole truth. And you cannot deny that the video that is leaked out in the last few days that people have, and I think yesterday was probably the height of attention that it was getting because it's been out for a couple of days, has changed the perspective on that. It certainly has changed what may happen in the legal setting.
Well, in the bits and pieces that I saw in a variety of different newscasts where it's like, well, that's not the whole video. Okay,
right.
Well, that's not the conclusion that you come to. If you look at the entire video, you've left out some very important context of it.
Right.
And as we've said, on any criminal case, what we look for is all the evidence that gets us as close to the truth as possible.
Right.
And we don't attempt to, and we didn't. And by the way, we understand that Trayvon Martin is before we get, we know that Trayvon Martin is not the same case of police.
Mm-hmm.
Trayvon Martin, though, was a huge race issue that was brought up, and that we use that, for example, because of the missing evidence, the timeline when Trayvon Martin ran away and George Zimmerman went back to his truck.
Mm-hmm.
That something happened in between, and so the whole point was if Trayvon Martin had run away and he couldn't catch him, he ran back to his truck. How did they ever meet up again?
Right.
And that was the key missing part of it, that he had to come back. And so at that point, as a jury said, as we had said, we had said the jury doesn't have the information to make a conclusion on this,
right,
of George Zimmerman's guilt or the guilt of Trayvon Martin. We don't know.
Right.
And that's what the jury came back and said. We don't know. There's too much missing time. We don't know what happened.
Right.
And so we don't attempt to fill in areas because of our political narrative, which we don't have on any individual case. There is no political narrative on an individual case. We criticize those who create or have a political narrative and use a criminal case in order to forward that political narrative when they don't have the complete facts surrounding it. And that's what we've done here with those that jumped on the narrative that this must have been because he was black. Well, the evidence had came out yesterday, and there is no evidence that's been presented and no charge of any type of race crime. And this entire thing was based on the fact of the early narrative that George Floyd was a victim of systemic racism of what exists in police departments to hunt down and kill blacks.
Right.
And we know that people will attempt to deflect. Well, it's just not that. Yeah, that's what it was.
Well,
don't move the goalpost.
Yes, and that's exactly what happens. Often when the truth starts to come out in a situation, you'll see where the narrative starts to change and the actions by the individuals who at first, in the case of many city leaders, wanting to abolish the police, defund the police. Well, defund the police doesn't mean fully defund the police. It means just take some money away. And now it's like, oh, well, we can just shift a little money from that department to, I don't know, some kind of neighborhood program for youth.
Or, well, just because Black Lives Matter, the group that has the website out there, doesn't mean that everybody that believes in Black Lives Matter subscribes to their philosophy. Well, that distinction wasn't made at first.
Right.
At least, and this goes to Mark Cuban, at least you're starting to make that distinction, which is a very important distinction.
But that distinction should be made without the charge of, without anyone else pointing out exactly what they believe in. In other words, he should have come out, or if that's what he really believes, then he should have come out and been proactive in saying that.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been on the defensive. He should have said, look, I'm separating myself from this group.
Yes, that the concept, yes, I support. But the group, in regards to Marxism, I do not. Mark supports Marxism, not Marxism.
Which is capitalism.
Capitalism, yes,
exactly.
Right. I mean, but this is again, why would you have to be on the defensive?
Yeah.
It sounds like you were ignorant of that fact. Or you're lying now. And you do support Marxism. I don't believe that about Mark Cuban.
No. You're looking at all possibilities.
Yes, I'm just saying that in any given person.
He's a stealth capitalist.
Yes, exactly. Yes, he's trying to.
No, I mean, he's a stealth Marxist.
Yes,
he's stealth Marxist.
Stealth Marxist, right. Or stealth capitalist. He's trying to buy. He's trying to get all the money in the world together, as if there's a finite amount of wealth. This is exactly what we have been talking about, and the court of public opinion does lead, and it, in this case, has led not just the political narrative, which it often does, and that's kind of an ebb and flow. You know, it goes to a certain point, and I'm going to say in this case it'll go probably. I'm just going to pick a date through November 3rd. Just out of the thin blue. But it also has a lasting effect when you have major corporations that come out and say, okay, this has to change. Well, based on what? Look, if you know, again, I just find it so maddening and stupid that we have to say this, but every single individual case, I don't care what it is, deserves a thorough investigation, and the pursuit of the truth is paramount. And I mean every part of the truth, not just one part of it that helps to control a narrative.
Yeah, when people ask us, well, what's your solution? Follow the Constitution. Not hard.
Yes.
That's why it exists.
And look into every single case. If a suspect dies at the hands of an officer, that warrants every bit of investigation that we can possibly afford.
And I know we sound like old-time liberals, due process.
Yes, exactly.
Because old-time liberals now are are right-wingers in our society today.
Well, I mean, think about that. But, I mean, we have done away with the process. See, this is when we talked about, I mean, you can go back with a number of things, but the Kavanaugh proceedings, the Senate confirmation process there, that was part of doing away with the process, right? Then Trump won the electoral vote, not the popular vote. We've got to do away with the process. We need to tear down the process. This is why I say that that people who are Marxists are opportunists, because they look at a situation and say, well, this is wrong, and they wanted to demonize Kavanaugh, for example, and tell you that he did horrible things, claim that he did horrible things when he was young. And then with the case of the Electoral College, well, our person didn't win, and it's wrong that the people don't get to decide. Actually, the people do decide who becomes the president, and the Electoral College was set up by our founders for a reason.
Well, actually, when you look at the general narrative from the left, is the accusation is all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Trump colluded with the Russians and is a traitor.
Exactly.
Even though all the evidence shows that that isn't true, still the majority of Democrats, as of a month and a half ago, still believe that, even though it's been by the evidence that exists from those that were prosecuting or attempting to prosecute the president.
Yeah.
Shows that there was no evidence. It doesn't matter to them. With Kavanaugh, it was the accusation, not the evidence to back it up. And with George Floyd, the narrative that it was systemic racism that is throughout all police departments. It was the accusation, not the evidence, that mattered to the left. It's constantly the accusation and not the evidence to back it up.
Right.
That seems to matter to the left.
Well, make the accusation, and then all of a sudden, to them, it's the truth. That's not the truth.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Be a part of the conversation.
And I know me better than any of you. I don't care whether you folk believe it or not.
Furtherly, God lets you suffer crema, temporary.
Years has brought me to this place. I ordain to you a prophet to the nations, to root out, to pull down, to destroy, to build, and to plant. Well, the planting has to do with harvest time. And harvest has to do with this wheat and the tares. Now, if you don't...
on showers, meals, and parking.
Mention other countries like Senegal, for instance, where...
Hey, hi there, Annie. I'm sorry, Annie in Alabama. I can't.
Well, the first time anybody called me Annie was I was called in on a radio show, and the disc jockey recognized my voice, and he said, "Don't you remember me? You're Annie. I'm the one that handed you the microphone when you were doing the Annie show in college."
Donate today at truckersfund.org. That's truckersfund.org. Give today at truckersfund.org.
You can trust 670 KBOI to give.
Much anymore. I'm calling about the violent films.
So essentially, you're watching, seeding games. They're glorified exhibition games. Doesn't really matter.
hours in the morning. So I see, in this sense, an interesting innovation.
It's a little later.
Now, Annie, let me ask you, did you really call me to talk about the Violent Femmes?
Yes, Hallowed Ground is the album.
Oh, okay.
Bernal could face a potential death sentence if he's convicted. Coming up, officials now say they fixed the glitch that's led to a backlog of coronavirus test results. More on that story just ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 5s at 12:25. Here's Tanya Campos.
Thank you for the tip call on the KNX Valvoline Instant Oil Change traffic tip line 323-467-1070. On the 210, this is right around Citrus Avenue. There's reports of a large fire just north of the 210 freeway. Not sure if it's a structure or any kind of brush, but it is visible from the freeway, and it is not blocking any lanes. Santa Fe Springs, 5 north at the 605. There's a vehicle stalled in the middle lane with a blown tire. 105 west at the 110 in South LA. We've got the right 4 lanes closed. This is a multi-car crash. One of those vehicles did overturn. The 110 South...
Clearing away the trash we regret. And in his second message, he describes the power of forgiveness. In addition, Chuck's wife Cynthia shares her gripping story about restoring broken relations.
Pay high taxes up here. And the health care system, or the sick care system.
It's all right. We're gonna have a good time tonight.
And it's something like the reason I add on this, but it's around. Just if I could just.
We tell its donors they've been fleeced.
Escucha la H, Heraldo Radio.
When you ever fall, good luck you and just like an angel, your skin makes me cry.
Here's your forecast.
A devastating week of weather when you think about the many lives lost in what was Hurricane Isaias, and the Atlantic hurricane season is still in high gear. We'll see thunderstorms develop today along the Canadian border, not associated with that system whatsoever, but along a frontal boundary in portions of North Dakota, moving into Wisconsin and Minnesota. Those showers will be into the Chicagoland area by tomorrow. The high today, 87 in the Windy City, and again, increasing chances of showers through the day and into tomorrow, high 92. Dallas, Texas will see near 100 again today. 111 degrees for Phoenix, Arizona, and back into the deep south. We can expect a chance of showers throughout the rest of the weekend for Atlanta, Georgia. High today, 94. Same for tomorrow. The dog days of summer and your national forecast from Red Eye Radio. I'm meteorologist John Trout.
Your forecast is brought to you by the TruckSmart mobile app from Travel Centers of America. Download TruckSmart today to get what you need when you need it.
Your official election 2020 station. KBOI News starts now.
As stimulus bill talks fell apart, President Trump says he'll resort to executive orders to provide coronavirus relief, suspending payroll taxes and extending expired unemployment benefits. Correspondent Christine Roman says millions of Americans remain jobless, even as 1.8 million jobs were added in July.
The pace of the jobs gains is slowing here. Overall, we have lost 22.1 million jobs in March and April, and we've gained back a little more than 9 million of those. So it's really important to kind of put that in context to measure just how deep the hole we are in here.
New York's governor cleared the way for the state's public schools to open this fall, leaving the decision up to individual districts. But in Hawaii, officials say the state's public school students will begin the academic year with remote learning only after a spike of coronavirus cases. I'm Barbara Cusack.
670 KBOI, your radio home for live and local news, mornings and afternoons. Weekday mornings with Casper and Chris.
Yesterday, Idaho reported 7 new COVID-19 deaths. Once again, the total has now reached 217 in the Gem State.
Local news at the top and bottom of the hour from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
In the meantime, Governor Little, legislative leadership, and members of the House and Senate will continue discussions about the specific topics that will be addressed during the special session.
Your local news authority, 670 KBOI.
When it comes time to trust a company with the health care of your employees or loved ones, look to the local choice of Regence Blue Shield of Idaho. Regence understands that the choices you make help shape the well-being of your team. And when you consider Regence, you'll soon see why so many Idaho businesses choose us. The hundreds of Idaho-based Regence team members uniquely combine innovation, stability, and member care into the Regence difference. Regence and our award-winning Idaho-based customer service team is here to help you get the health care you and your employees need when you need it. Your company deserves a local, trusted partner to help you get the most from your health care investment. You deserve the Regence difference. Regence Blue Shield of Idaho. Visit us at regence.com or talk to your local broker to find out more. Regence, proudly serving the health care needs of Idahoans since 1946.
Rush Limbaugh.
There's a column claiming we need to get rid of debate. Debates are something that a presidential election should not even be decided on. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's no way that column would be written nor published. It would not have even been conceived of were it not for the fact that a guy who can't debate is a Democrat nominee. A significant percentage of people decide who they're going to vote for after the debate.
Live, weekdays 10 to 1 on News Talk 670 KBOI.
312-9970. Stanley from New York owed $93,000. The IRS placed a levy on his bank account. Coast One released the levy and settled with the IRS for $2,000. Mark in Michigan owed $225,000. After Coast One stepped in, Mark walked away paying less than $1,500. Call Coast One now. A 10-minute call can save you up to 93% on your back taxes. Get your fresh start today. That's 800-312-9970.
Red Eye Radio comes to you on demand when you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or even your favorite podcast reader. Get more info at redeyeRadioshow.com, keyword podcast.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3680 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
House wants to thank you for the rest of the year. Buy any House product and enter to play the House from Our Family to Your sweepstakes. Just send a picture of your product and receipt to 413-299-2020 and you could win instantly. Plus, you'll get a chance to open the House prize vault packed with your choice of cool prizes, including a full-size ATV. Learn more at House100Sweeps.com. No purchase necessary. Ends 12/31/20. Open to legal residents of 50 U.S. states, D.C., and Canada. 18 and over. 19 and over in select states. Complete rules at House100Sweeps.com.
If you're a trucking industry professional, then you need to stay on top of changing regulations, equipment upgrades, and technology advancements. Fleet Owner Magazine gives you all of this and more. Written for fleet executives and managers, Fleet Owner gives you the business intelligence on operations, vehicle maintenance, regulations, and information technology you need to stay ahead. But that's not all. With its monthly print publication, weekly email newsletters, and a website updated several times a day, Fleet Owner has...
Broadcasting from the Empire Title Studios, we are 670 KBOI.
Is the #1 source for trucking information in North America. Remember to visit FleetOwner.com every day for the latest industry news. You can also sign up to receive Newsline, their free email newsletter, and subscribe to Fleet Owner magazine. That's FleetOwner.com. Fleet Owner, for news you can use.
To feel that this was not some kind of a manufacturing explosion type of event. This was seems to be, according to them, they would know better than I would, but they seem to think it was a attack. It was a bomb of some kind.
Now 100 people dead, more than 4,000 injured in that explosion in Beirut, which is unlike anything that I've ever seen.
Yeah, Hassan Diab is the Lebanese prime minister, saying that they will certainly, he pledged to hold those responsible. He will find and certainly bring them to justice, those responsible for this. But he really didn't get into the cause of it. The president alluding to information that tells us that this was deliberate in nature, that it was some kind of bombing. But when you look at the video, it's horrific. It is the massive power of the big blast that is happening. And you were talking about in the one distant video, there's a number of videos from different perspectives, one from an apartment, one from, I don't know where they were standing, but from another perspective. And then there was one from a boat that was on the water from so it was a ways out. And you see, these little sparks going off. They look like sparks, but they're little explosions, smaller explosions that were happening at some point. You certainly see this huge plume coming from a fire. You can tell that it's burning something significant because of the color of the smoke. Then you see this massive blast. The impact of that blast, the concussion impact of that blast, just seemed to go. It looked like a small nuclear bomb had gone off. That's what it looked like. There was one from a perspective that was closer. And if you watch it, I was watching it, I slowed it down just a little bit. As you watch it, there are buildings that were blocks away where the brick and mortar was just being peeled off by that concussion wave from that large blast. I've never seen anything like that in modern times. And again, you would have to go back to, a mushroom cloud, a nuclear explosion type event in order to see that kind of impact. I've never seen that before. They say that the warehouse where it was based was storing some kind of chemical. And the question is, did that provide opportunity for an enemy to come in and then use that as their, again, way to attack the people of Lebanon?
And we've seen all sorts of different reports. I saw the report that it's actually Hezbollah-held territory. Whether that had anything to do with it,
right?
Who knows? But I mean, it's they talk about the foreign ministry of Lebanon said it might have been explosives that were confiscated and then from a ship and then stored in a particular warehouse. But I would think that in the United States, you wouldn't be able to store that amount of explosives that would cause that kind of damage anywhere within 100 miles of any major city.
Right.
That's just a guess on my part.
Right.
You'd be breaking some major laws if that went on, probably in the States and Europe or anywhere else.
Right.
Which makes you wonder how could that happen? Because when you first saw it, you went, when I first saw the first thing, I go, okay, there's the explosion. I didn't know it the first time I saw the video.
Right.
And so you're seeing the first little cloud that's up there, and you can see, in the distance again, that there's other minor explosions, and then the next one hits, and I've seen the one that you're talking about, the one from the apartment that's close.
Yeah.
And that goes off, and the concussion blast it hits so quickly.
It traveled so fast. Yeah.
It was, and then there's a second one, which is a little bit further away. The concussion blast took a few seconds to get there, but it was just so incredibly big and powerful that you just went, and that's the first thing I thought. I go, is that a... And I didn't think it was because you already had the other blast, but you're like, did they set up the blast? Is that some kind of mini nuke? Because
that's what it looked like.
That's what it looked like,
now they're saying 100 dead, over 400 have been injured.
4,000.
I'm sorry, 4,000 have been injured. And that is just amazing to think of, again, if there was that kind of negligence or illegal behavior in terms of storing all of those explosives in one place. Wow. Or again, is it something that what the president was alluding to, that it was some kind of enemy attack and that it was deliberate? It's going to take a while to sort through the rubble. If you're watching any of the video, the aftermath is horrific. It's just horrific. I mean, it was, well, it's remnant of multiple bombs being dropped on a city. That's what it looks like. And you watch that concussion blast roll through Beirut, and it was just... I've never seen anything like that in recent years. I've never seen anything like that. You have to go back to 9/11 to see the kind of impact, of an attack like that, which came... A lot of that impact came, of course, after the towers fell in New York City. And the aftermath is similar, where it's just destruction everywhere you look inside Beirut. I mean, just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's easy to jump to conclusions and look and see that, and say that this had to have been deliberate. But we don't know that just yet. We just know what the president said, that he's got top military commanders telling him that it appears that it was. I'd like to know what that information is based on. I think we'll get more from the Pentagon probably later this morning.
Well, as you see, it doesn't seem much progress is going on with the negotiations for the stimulus package. So the president came out yesterday and floated the payroll tax cut by executive order, and then reinstating the enhanced unemployment benefits by executive order for money that has not been used yet.
Right, yeah.
And you and I both thought, we went, wow, okay. This is a way where he's putting pressure on the Democrats, because if they can't come to an agreement, he'll simply say, look, we and the Republicans, we had our plan that we thought was really good. I'm going to, because the Democrats will not compromise and they wish to bail out all the states, I'm going to do it on my own, and this money, we've got whatever, billions are left. We're going to at least extend the unemployment benefits, or the federal portion of it, the enhanced, for another month. And we're going to use it from this money that has not been used, whatever, that Congress has appropriated for different functions because of the coronavirus emergency, and I'm declaring this a national emergency, which is why I'm doing it, because people are suffering because of coronavirus. And then you dare any Democrat to come and say, you don't have the authority to do that executive order, we're going to take the unemployment away.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to do. On the payroll tax cut by executive order, it actually wouldn't be a payroll tax cut from what I've read on it. That it would basically be like you saw from the Treasury Department when you didn't have to, where they moved back the payment of your taxes, from April 15th to July 15th without penalty. They were able to do that. They're able to move when you actually have to pay what is owed. So they can delay it, as they did then. They could delay the payroll tax, but Congress would then have to come and say, okay, we now approve of that payroll tax. If they don't do that, there would have to be a date where both you and your employer would have to pay it back. So is the president going to do that and then dare Congress to not pass a law or not pass the law that would take that payroll tax deduction to a certain date? Is that also a dare there? Now, there's a greater risk for the president there, where there's no risk at all on the... I mean, there's a risk on both for the Democrats. There really is no risk on the unemployment for the president, because that he has I don't think anybody's going to challenge him on that. But the payroll tax cut, would Democrats challenge it and say, nope, sorry, we're not going to give it to you? Therefore, companies, and if you got the delay for, like, I don't know, until September and didn't have to pay it, that you would have to make it up at the end of the year. Yeah. that they'd come back and grab it from you later on. When would the Democrats be willing to do that as a form of desperation? I don't know. I don't know what the...
Well, because you would essentially be taking from them in that last part of the year, which is politically dangerous, but I don't know that they care that much anymore. In the era of scorched earth, I can't tell you what they're concerned about, because let's face it, the Democrats believe, and I think they're, unless there's something we don't see right now, and some kind of massive silent majority at work that may be in effect on November 3rd, they're going to hold the House. They're not going to lose the House. So if that is the case, they may think, okay, look, it may hurt us for the moment, but it's not going to change the outcome of the election. So do you make that move? And this could be the Hail Mary by the president, daring them not to, agree, and then seeing if he can get that, and then using that on the campaign trail. Look, I wanted to give people who were at work, that were still working, a bit of a relief, because many of those people didn't qualify for the $1,200 check. They certainly didn't qualify for unemployment, and they're not getting any relief. They're still having to show up every day. They're still having to take risks, many of them, because they work in the service industry or grocery stores or in the medical community, and they have to go to work every day. They take that risk in going out into the public and being exposed to COVID-19. That's something you can certainly use at the very least. So the president comes away with something he can put onto the pile. It certainly does not trump, no pun intended, the chaos on the left, but it adds to the arsenal of being able to say, hey, I wanted to do something for the families who were getting nothing out of the relief packages, and all I was saying is give them a bit of a tax relief, and also the employers, encourage them to employ more people in this period and give them some relief as well, but the Democrats said no. So you add to the arsenal, and you get, I think that's a win. I think that's a plus. I don't know if it's an exact win.
It's a plus as they get, because from what I know, the Treasury Department can delay it.
Yes, right.
So they can delay it from both, but if Congress doesn't pass a law stating that, okay, it was a reprieve for 3 months or till the end of the year, and then we start it again, if they say, nope, sorry, we're not going to pass that, then both employers and the people would have to pay that back.
Right.
And would the Democrats, would the president simply say, look, I'm going to do this until Election Day?
Well, no, this is my question.
Right, you do
even further.
Or he does it till the end of the year,
and then dare the Democrats to take action against him.
Right, because the Democrats would have to take, if he doesn't win if he wins the presidency or doesn't win the presidency, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's on them.
Right.
It's not going to affect him politically once it goes past November.
Keep delaying it.
So you're right.
Keep delaying it until they have to take action.
Right. So if he delays it and says my executive order is until the end of the year, well, then the election's over.
Right.
So would the Democrats sit there when they're in, let's say they hypothetically won, would they not pass it and say, okay, to the people, there's your last oomph for Trump doing something that we didn't like? No. No, they would just, and if Trump wins, would they do that? No, because then at that point, by the time you get to January, you're worried about the midterms coming up, and you could always use that against the midterms. It's the Democrats that would not give you we did whatever we could to ensure we could put some money back in your pockets during an emergency, and because of the government mandates that we put on you, and the Democrats wouldn't do it. So it could both turn out to be great for the president.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's what I would do. I would delay it as long as possible and then force the Democrats to take action.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Be a part of the conversation. Call the Shell Rotella hotline, 866-907-3339. Shell Rotella, the engine oil that works as hard as you do.
The 2020 Great American Trucking Show might be down due to the coronavirus, but it's not totally out. Overdrive's GATS Week will feature evening events during the same week the show had been scheduled, August 24th through 28th. Among those will be the Overdrive Red Eye Radio Trucker Talent Search. 3 finalists will compete during a broadcast to Overdrive's Facebook page August 28th to determine the winner, who will receive a day's recording session in Nashville. And don't miss these other GATS Week events. Like an FMCSA official will explain the new hours of service rule. 2 partners in business sessions covering advice for owner-operators, a first half 2020 review, and market forecasts. Overdrive's new Small Fleet Champ finalists will discuss critical business topics, followed by announcement of the winner. And Overdrive's Pride and Polish will reveal the winners in 5 categories of custom truck photos. Go to facebook.com/Overdrive Trucking for complete details. And be sure to watch the OverdriveOnline.com newsletter and website for more details.
Loadmaster here. This is for all you hard-working drivers who hit the road every day, where every mile and every minute is money. But what are you going to do if your rig breaks down and cash flow's a little tight? Simple. Big Rig Lending. No matter how good or bad your credit, Big Rig can lend you up to $15,000 in as little as 24 to 48 hours. No vehicle inspection required. You'll have the cash you need to get you back on the road before you can say hammer down. As a matter of fact, Big Rig lends on all commercial vehicles, semis, dump trucks, box trucks, you name it. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you you can also use that money for income taxes, insurance, tires, and other capital needs. So, find yourself short? Give Big Rig Lending a call. 1-833-3-BIG-RIG. That's 1-833-3-BIG-RIG. Well, stack them 8s. This is Loadmaster, and I'll see you on the road.
If you depend on a truck to make a living, then American Trucker Magazine is for you. Each month, the magazine is packed full with information you need in order to keep your truck running and the money rolling. From new products to the latest in regulations and even driver health and wellness, American Trucker has what you need to know. American Trucker's staff knows that you're running a small business, and they work just as hard as you do to bring you news and information that matters. American Trucker Magazine is not just all about keeping your truck on the road. It's also there for truckers looking to buy or sell their vehicles. The American Trucker Marketplace connects you with thousands of buyers and sellers across the country who may have the perfect truck you're looking for. So don't miss another issue of American Trucker Magazine or the American Trucker Free Newsletter. Enrollment is easy. Just go to trucker.com and sign up today. That's trucker.com.
670 KBOI. On air, online at 670KBOI.com and everywhere. Download the 670 KBOI app for free from the App Store for every platform.
Get 670 KBOI on the iHeartRadio and TuneIn app.
For Google Play, say, "Hey Google, play 670 KBOI."
And on Alexa, say, "Alexa, enable the 670 KBOI skill." Then say, "Alexa, play 670 KBOI."
670 KBOI. On air and everywhere.
As stimulus bill talks fell apart, President Trump says he'll resort to executive orders to provide coronavirus relief, suspending payroll taxes and extending expired unemployment benefits. Correspondent Christine Roman says millions of Americans remain jobless, even as 1.8 million jobs were added in July.
The pace of the jobs gains is slowing here. Overall, we have lost 22.1 million jobs in March and April, and we've gained back a little more than 9 million of those. So it's really important to kind of put that in context to measure just how deep the hole we are in here.
New York's governor cleared the way for the state's public schools to open this fall, leaving the decision up to individual districts. But in Hawaii, officials say the state's public school students will begin the academic year with remote learning only after a spike of coronavirus cases. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Tuesday, November 3rd, the countdown is on. Election 2020.
They are dying. It is what it is, but that doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can.
President Donald Trump versus the Democrats.
Have you taken a cognitive...
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test?
What happens next?
And I wouldn't say he's at the top of his game, would you?
Happens here. Your official Election 2020 station, 670 KBOI.
Listen to 670 KBOI online. Go to KBOI.com and click the Listen Live button.
And now, Red Eye Radio on 670 KBOI.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Hurley, and I'm Gary McNamara, 86690 Red Eye. Also, he wants to put in an executive order to still stop evictions. Temporarily stop evictions.
Yeah, because that expired July 31st as well. So I was looking for another executive order. There was rumor about it where he would make everyone a billionaire, but I didn't see that one during the day. Well, maybe we'll see it on Wednesday.
We had advocated that.
Make America billionaires.
Then
again.
Democrats would have to get rid of the entire country.
Exactly.
Because we're all billionaires.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.
Get to 4 points faster than ever with Push 4 Points in the Pilot Flying J app. Activate Push 4 Points at the beginning of each month and watch your points per gallon increase after each qualifying fill.
If you're a trucking industry professional, then you need to stay on top of changing regulations, equipment upgrades, and technology advancements. Fleet Owner Magazine gives you all of this and more. Written for fleet executives and managers, Fleet Owner gives you the business intelligence on operations, vehicle maintenance, regulations, and information technology you need to stay ahead. But that's not all. With its monthly print publication, weekly email newsletters, and a website updated several times a day, Fleet Owner has all the latest news and information delivered to you, when you want it and where you want it. From industry experts to award-winning writers and columnists, Fleet Owner is the #1 source for trucking information in North America. Remember to visit FleetOwner.com every day for the latest industry news. You can also sign up to receive Newsline, their free email newsletter, and subscribe to Fleet Owner Magazine. That's FleetOwner.com. Fleet Owner, for news you can use.
Thanks for calling Consolidated Credit Counseling Services. Can I help you?
I sure hope so. I'm in debt.
Is it credit card bills?
Yes, I have 2 credit cards that I'm making minimum payments on, and another that I'm behind on. I owe about $5,000.
What interest rates are you paying?
Between 18 and 22%.
At that rate, it'll take over 20 years to pay off.
Wow, 20 years?
What Consolidated Credit can do is work with your creditors to lower your payments and reduce or even eliminate your interest charges. You should be able to pay everything off in 3 or 4 years.
What do I have to do?
Just give me some details and get ready to celebrate your freedom from debt.
We're Consolidated Credit. We're here to give you freedom from debt. Call now for your free consultation.
If I had known it was this easy, I would have called years ago.
Call 800-552-6750. That's 800-552-6750. 800-552-6750.
Consolidated Credit Counseling Services Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33343. Not a loan company licensed by New York Department of Financial Services. Part of the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM19, Oregon DM80031. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission. License number DC32.
Hi, I'm Eric Harley.
And I'm Gary McNamara.
We all know that our listeners are the ones keeping the shelves stocked and our pantries full. And in this time of uncertainty and need, the trucking industry always shows up and delivers.
That's why during the months of August and September, through Truck Driver Appreciation Month, Red Eye Radio will be recognizing a truck driver every night on the air.
We want to highlight our industry's first responders and say thank you. Our drivers' commitment to moving America will be a focal point on Red Eye Radio this summer.
Their dedication, drive, and determination has truly helped this country make it through the COVID crisis. Stay tuned for more information as Red Eye Radio salutes America's drivers. Go to redeyeradioshow.com for more information. It's all made possible by our sponsors, Shell Rotella, Pilot Flying J, Mercer Transportation, Motel 6, Dish Outdoors, Progressive Insurance, Big Rig Lending, House Lubricator, and the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. Go to redeyeradioshow.com.
So here's the terminal block.
Your official election 2020 station. We are 670 KBOI, Boise.
So that I can run some more powerful tools.
Relief on hold. 2016 election revisited. I'm Barbara Cusack. Coronavirus stimulus negotiations fell apart on Capitol Hill.
Friday afternoon talks didn't last very long. Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
I've told them, come back when you are ready to give us a higher number.
Pelosi offered the example of Republicans only wanting a few $100,000 to help food banks and nutrition programs that have been overwhelmed by the coronavirus recession. Democrats want to send tens of billions. On behalf of the White House, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows leaving the Capitol.
In the meantime, we're going to take executive orders to try to alleviate some of the pain that people are experiencing. This is not a perfect answer.
The president says he'll seek to extend enhanced unemployment benefits and protections against evictions. Bob Costantini, Washington.
A word of caution from top infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci. He said an approved vaccine for COVID-19 could end up being effective only 50 to 60% of the time. Fauci said that means public health measures would still have to remain in place. Correspondent Steve Kastenbaum reports New York schools got clearance to reopen this fall with coronavirus precautions.
Coronavirus figures across New York have remained below thresholds set by the governor for weeks now, so schools can reopen in every corner of the state.
You look at our infection rate, we are probably in the best situation in the country right now.
But it won't be a typical school week for the largest public school system in the nation. New York City schools will have a blended learning schedule with remote learning several days each week.
China, Russia, and Iran are among countries seeking to influence the U.S. presidential election this year, according to a top U.S. intelligence chief. A statement issued by the director of U.S. counterintelligence said foreign states are using covert and overt influence measures to sway the vote in 2020. I'm Barbara Cusack.
I'm just going to show
In
you
uncertain
how I hook
times,
it up.
you can
On
be
the back
certain
of the
of
inverter are
this.
two
The
cooling
Salvation
fans.
Army is serving those